Hello, my name is Anne Iveson and I'm here with Edmund Truell, the Chairman of Disruptive Capital. Good morning, Edmund. Can you tell us, after your keynote speech today, why do you think it's a good time for private equity to enter the financial services market?
Thank you, Anne. Good to be here as well. I've never seen a situation where we've seen more disruption in financial services. There's a situation where we have perhaps 3, 4, 5 trillion of assets and businesses that have to be sold, and very, very few natural buyers. And so that's why I think it's an interesting place to be.
And why do you think we, or private equity, may be a better group, to use a homogenous word, to be involved in this now? And maybe what some of the challenges might be facing them?
I think private equity can bring two things: capital and attitude. On the capital side, there's still a great deal of dry powder in private equity funds, uninvested capital, hundreds of billions. And there are very few sources around today of uninvested capital. On the attitude side, where private equity has been historically good is actually around management, in terms of selecting the right management teams, incentivizing those management teams in a long-term and aligned way, changing management if necessary, and being pretty straightforward about it. And then also making sure that you can actually get the right management structure and strategy around an exit. So we take that kind of management-led things. What financial services has really suffered from is actually a lack of good management. Yes, of course, it's made all sorts of stupid mistakes, but who made those mistakes? It was the managers. And that's what private equity should be good at. Where private equity has struggled is that it's viewed with extreme distrust by the regulators, and by regulators that are increasingly intrusive in the way that management teams are put together, selected and incentivized.
Can I just go back to the interaction between private equity and regulation? Are you saying that regulation is a bad thing for private equity here? Or are you making a comment about what or how private equity needs to work in terms of being decisive in its nature and to work in a very expedite the work it needs to do?
I think you raise a very interesting question there. I think the regulators have identified some of the issues and are trying to do things in their own way about it. I think the regulators also know that actually private equity could help here. However, private equity needs to really overcome a deep-seated suspicion and hostility even between the regulator and the private equity community. If I can just comment a little further on that, that hostility is because the examples where private equity have become involved in financial services have been patchy, to put it nicely. They've seen circumstances where private equity firms have effectively raided the balance sheets of institutions they've bought to try to support their other activities. They've certainly seen a predilection for putting too much risk onto businesses. And of course, the thing that's brought the whole system down is too much risk being taken onto undercapitalized balance sheets. And so they don't want to see, and private equity needs to convince the regulators that they're not about, leveraging it up and flipping it on, but they're actually about building long-term sustainable cash flows and growth. And if they can combine those two things, getting value for it. And that's a massive challenge for private equity to overcome.
Okay, thank you very much indeed.